I'm about to call the Colony Police Department. You can hear him. Well, you'll hear once I call. I'm calling right now. I am recording. Maybe you want to put yourself on mute.
You have reached the Colony Police Department. If you have an emergency, hang up and dial 911. Usted ha llamado al Departamento de la Policía de Colony. Si usted tiene una emergencia, cuelgue y marque el 911. For police, fire, or medical response, press 1. To reach the jail, press 2. To reach the Police Records Division, press 3. To reach the Criminal Investigations Division, press 4. To reach the Patrol Supervisor, press 5. To reach the Animal Services Department, press 6. To reach the Professional Standards Division, press 7. To reach the Municipal Court, press 8. To reach the Property Division, for police, fire, or medical response, press 1. To reach the jail, press 2. The Colony Police Department, Sergeant Barfield.
James Barfield?
This is.
This must be a God thing. I was actually calling to talk to you, but I didn't know if I was going to catch you because it's Friday evening before Thanksgiving and almost 5 o'clock.
I don't. And yet I'm still here.
And yet you're still here. But I said, you know what? If we're supposed to have this conversation, he'll be there, and I'll get a hold of him. You may not be as happy when you actually hear who this is, but I'm going to tell you anyways.
Okay.
This is Marlene and Yvette.
Okay. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
All right.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. Can we talk for a little bit?
Yeah. How can I help you?
So, listen, I have heard on the other side of things you have done a lot of amazing things for victims, and obviously you're over professional standards unit. You didn't get there by hurting people intentionally and doing a bunch of bad stuff. I need you to know I know that. I know that you and probably a lot of people in your department in your county hate me. I get that. And I can't take back whatever impression or biases or maybe even feeling legitimate feelings that you have. But all I can do is respectfully remind you that you have great power and plead with you to maybe even see that you don't have a long history of someone that you hate, that uses too many words, that writes too long emails, that she's just making stuff up because she doesn't want to give the kid to dad, family custody, and all of those different things. If things were getting worse, Sergeant Barfield, and you had an opportunity to do the right thing and save a child, like, would you even be open to having that conversation? Or is this determined that she can never win, the child stays here, there's nothing to talk about?
Well, I don't know. Now, first of all, just let me say from my own background, I've spent a number of years as a child crimes investigator, and so I passionately fight for the safety of children, and I have my entire career. But I will tell you that I have to operate on the set of facts that I have.
Right.
And ultimately, I tell people this, in all kinds of contexts. In a lot of ways, it doesn't matter what I think. It's all about what I can prove. What evidence do I have to support a particular conclusion?
Right.
And so, nothing that I have done has been based on any kind of ill will toward you or anyone else, but it is the facts and circumstances that I've been presented with
in the cases involving you
Right.
have brought me to those conclusions.
Right.
And I don't have any evidence that would take me to different conclusions.
Right.
And I understand that as a mother, and I believe this, I believe that you believe that you are doing what is right and best for your child.
Right. Absolutely.
And I as a parent, I absolutely get that. It's just based on the facts and circumstances of what we have been able to investigate in these cases does not lead me to believe that she is in the danger that you believe that she is in.
That's fair enough.
Because I don't have any facts to support that. And so I can't stand in front of a judge and say, I recommend this, or I want to put, her father, or whoever is it. My career is prosecuting, developing cases, not prosecuting, but developing cases against people who hurt children.
Right.
And I'm very passionate about that.
Right.
And so there was nothing in these cases that I could take to a court and say, here is evidence of a crime, here's evidence of abuse. And so I've never been able to come up with any facts or circumstances that would lead me to believe that the things that you are alleging were true.
I understand. And so I would say that, again, I completely respect the position you have as law enforcement. And again, I've heard a lot of great things about you. I've seen that you've helped to protect a lot of victims. And again, like I said, I don't believe you would be at the place that you're at in your career with your promotion. Congratulations. Sorry I couldn't congratulate you in court that day, but I don't think you would have gotten to where you are if that were not true. So I need you to know that I hear you. And that said, I don't really know which came first, the cart or the horse, in terms of why you didn't get certain evidence. I don't know what you've seen. I don't know what you've been presented with. I know with Denton County CPS, I know the claims that have come from them. I know how stuff has been open and immediately shut. And at the end of the day, let me just ask you an honest question. If you actually heard that one with the whole strangulation thing, I didn't bring it up. If you actually heard we were at the doctor's office because, yes, she had a cough that would not go away, that the pediatrician, if you heard audio that the pediatrician said, wait, I gave Dad meds twice, and he was supposed to give her, and he was supposed to send them with you. If you actually heard the x-ray tech say to me, okay, you've given her the medication, everything is cleared, but has she had an injury to her throat lately? If you actually heard when the counselor that called in the concern about sexual abuse notified me, because of her conversation, I have to call CPS and me beg her not to. If you actually read another police officer's report that she is now having brain tics, Sergeant Barfield. If I brought you pictures where, yes, she had red welts on her legs, where, yes, she's had bandages on her back, where, yes, she had a nail clipper thrown in her face and she had a cut in her face. If you had audios where as soon as she got in the car, she said, Dad hit me in the head so hard that I had to beg him for ice and cry myself to sleep. If you could hear and you could see, again, from these professionals, if you could go and I could give you a certain report that they could look up in CPS from 2023, when people at Etheridge Elementary called, and I wasn't even in Moriah's life. And because he jerked her back so bad, she went to school with blood in her eye. And her third grade teacher, Mr. Cox, talked to her counselor, that then talked to the administrator, and they called CPS. I wasn't even in the picture. If you heard or could substantiate that one of her current teachers that never knew about me, never knew about the case, didn't know about anything, but had to reach out because she was mortified at Moriah's response in the classroom over a bad grade, wailing, shaking. You don't understand what's going to happen to me. If you looked at the family history, that at 11, the age she is now, Moriah's uncle ran away from home because the grandmother that lives with them now, because he got an F on her report card, got beat up, locked in a closet, and wound up running away from home. I actually don't hate her dad. I don't hate her grandmother. I don't hate her grandfather. This is my daughter's family. We don't get to choose our family. I don't hate these people. I don't feel like I should be able to ride off into the sunset with my daughter and them never see her again. I just feel like, and I know with all of that stuff, if I could present it to you, sir, because it exists. If, I don't know, maybe you could hear from the psychologist that interviewed her, said she doesn't detect any kind of coaching and she believes that my daughter has PTSD based on the environment and the things she's reported. What if you heard the audio of the CPS worker that came to my Oklahoma home, interviewed my daughter in my home, checked out my home, and then before she left said, keep her and don't return her? If you got the results of her failed suicide assessment, where she said, I want to bang my head into the wall, and she doesn't want to be there anymore because of how she's treated. I'm probably leaving a lot of stuff out. But if that was a good starting point, and it actually, what if actually, the truth is, Mom's not making any of it up. And she went out of her way begging not to have anything reported to CPS and police. Or maybe if you heard the audio where I called and talked to Christopher Keys and Detective Al and said, can I have permission to return her and not be found guilty of neglectful supervision if I take her back during that period of time I had her last year and she's injured worse, that I won't wind up like the mom in Collin County that was discharged because they had to take her 3-year-old son off of life support and them tell me, no, we can't give you that clearance. You need to file a protective order. And me be in fear to file a protective order because I heard a custody judge say high conflict and I know what that means. If you were presented with new facts, including most pressing right now, like we could do all the backstory later, the fact that she is showing neurological damage, brain damage, that she's being bullied over at school, where she still has problems in her throat for what happened last year. If that was presented to you, not publicly, not a court of law, not CPS, but as the law enforcement officer that you just told me you are, and I believe that you are, sir, would you look at not doing anything as a favor to me, but your job to protect my daughter before it's too late?
So I know, I know that several of the things that you mentioned were investigated by either CPS or us or both of us, and there was no evidence to support.
Did I lose you? Sergeant Barfield, can you hear me?
What do you mean it was me? Yeah.
Can you hear me? Oh, I'm so sorry. I lost you for a second. I don't know what happened. You said there was no evidence to support, and then I all of a sudden you went out. Can you? I'm sorry. Started that part.
Yeah.
No evidence. Okay.
Right. So there was no evidence. You know, we've investigated those allegations.
All of them, even the ones with her brain tick right now?
Well, if those are new allegations,
yes,
then you would need to file a new report for that.
Do I get in trouble because I did? Or because I do?
No.
Okay.
No. I mean, we would happily investigate anything. And I mean, because that's what we do. And even, I would say, even in cases where allegations have been made and they could not be substantiated, does not mean that there isn't something new that that we can substantiate.
Right.
So that's something we would certainly investigate if there are new concerns, new allegations.
And I'm saying that there are, and at this point, I've talked to both DA's offices, quite frankly, since the new things were noticed. One screened me and gave me a protective order packet. The other visibly or verbally said an arrest needs to be made. But I let both of them know if anything winds up in CPS's hands, where they are committed with Denton County CPS to conceal and cover stuff up and close cases before they're investigated on their end. Now, I'm not telling you all didn't do police work on your end. I'm not going to tell you that. You tell me you did, I have to take your word for it. CPS, that could wholly, entirely be a different thing, especially if maybe you heard some audios where they just got frustrated and case was opened, and then all of a sudden a new person called on the same case and said, no, the other one never existed. Of course it did, because I was sent before. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that happened. And again, I have zero desire to go back into who did what and why they did this and they shouldn't have. I don't care about that. I care about that because, unfortunately, Sergeant Barfield, it's getting worse. And she now has noticeable brain tics. Enough that she is
what's a brain tick?
So if you can imagine someone is trying to look at you and their head keeps jerking to the side. Have you seen that before?
I have not.
So when I first saw her on her first supervised visit on October 18th, and she walked in immediately, her eyes were shifted looking to the ground, and her head kept turning to the side. Within a few minutes, I was like, baby, what's going on? And she said, oh, it's a tick. She didn't have a tick before. And what was scary to me is she didn't know this. When I asked her later, I said, well, how long have you had your tick? She says, oh, about a month. And instantly I start doing math. And I think, wow, that would be around the time that corresponded with me getting a report from one of her teachers that something is terribly wrong, and I need to know what I'm looking at. Apparently, she was having a failing grade in one of her classes, and she was asked to fix her work. And in frustration, probably not the best response. In frustration, she goes, "Well, if I knew how to get it right the first, or if I knew if I knew how to fix it, I would have gotten it right the first time," which isn't the most respectful response. Talked to her about that. But that was her response. And, said she's blurting out answers and, having some behavioral and grade challenges. And I remember when that email first came in, it came to me and Dad, because, again, I haven't lost rights to be included. And immediately I just responded with, absolutely, would love to talk with you and share. And if anybody would share some things about her personality, maybe some things that they can try to help make the environment a little bit better, right? That was all the only interest I had. And by the time we actually finally connected, I had talked to her principal. I don't know what happened with the principal. I understand he's resigned, or he's chosen to resign. I knew he was on administrative leave. But the day before, I literally danced on eggshells because I recognize that at the end of the day, there may be some behaviors. Her dad has he can have a rather charming and cordial personality, or he can have a rather escalating, aggressive personality. Snappy answers, right? So she observed a lot of that. But at the end of the day, there has been abuse that has occurred, whether you've gotten that evidence or not. And I'm sorry, can you give me 2 seconds? Please don't hang up. I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. Hey, Kristen, can you hear me okay?
Hi, Marwana, it's Tara. How are you?
Oh, hi, Tara. Good. I forgot I need to come get the key fob from you. Is that why you were calling?
Ma'am.
I'm coming right now. I should actually be there in a few minutes.
Sure, we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Sorry, Sergeant Barfield, are you there? I apologize. I forgot to do something that I've got to do within minutes. sorry, let me go back to. So anyways, I said I'm just going to talk in generalities on sometimes, maybe responses you might see from children, but, I made sure I didn't say anything about him. I didn't say anything about her history, like literally on eggshells. That if there's any struggle or, he's like, well, we've got a counselor. Maybe she can just make sure she checks in. I said, that'd be great. Didn't say anything about Dad. And that's recorded. So if anybody thinks any differently, I promise I didn't say anything. Next day I get a call, finally connect with their teacher, spurring from that because he was left out of the email chain the next time. And she tells me that she's very concerned because basically after she got the bad grade and she did do something to correct it, that she literally was profusely shaking, crying, wailing, please, please, please tell me my grade came up. Please, you don't understand what's going to happen to me. And it was not and she does have a PTSD diagnosis. So I know everybody's kept that out of court records, but that is the bottom line. And so that, I'm sure knowing about PTSD, fight, flight, all these different responses, whether we ever acknowledge it in court records, because that might possibly say mom wasn't lying. I don't care. But she does have PTSD. Dad has admitted in court that putting her in road rage incidences where the other driver is standing at her window with a hammer and he's saying, do it, I dare you, in the seat she's sitting in. There are reviews online that have talked about his road rage at intersections with a 15-year-old driver from a dad. His girlfriend got into a road rage situation, his ex-girlfriend that was there, where the person followed her home. Moriah was walking home from school. They were going back and forth. The person went to their trunk, alluding to the fact they would blow the house up, actually said that. Moriah was brought into the middle of that environment. She has PTSD. Like, I can keep going and going and going. And what's interesting is the things that she talks about when questioned about them in court, Kareem nor his ex-girlfriend denied it. So if she's lying and I wasn't there, how would I know about these things? Right? When his attorney tried to say I called CPS in 2023, immediately I said, objection, Your Honor, I even have my daughter in 2023. I'll withdraw. Why would you even try that? I wasn't there. That was the incident with the blood in her eye. So and at that time, apparently there was an officer that goes to the cigar bar with her dad that came and said, Dad can discipline you. She doesn't miss, but she's also not running around trying to get cops or other people in trouble. She thought she was safe and can talk about what she's gone through. And when multiple judges thought she should be protected from the things she went through, she thought, I'm on the right track. When a counselor talked to her about being safe and proper safety, she believed it. We now know she doesn't really have a right to safety. I don't have a right to protect her. We get it. I swear we get it. We would not get out of line again. And I'm not saying that to be anything besides how I feel right now, based on how this has all gone. But that teacher was terrified for Moriah and said, this is why I kept Dad out of the email chain. And I said, well, what you're saying, it's not behavioral. Yes, there's background. Yes, there are things that have occurred. So what you're saying, you already know what you're calling to tell me about. But unfortunately, I'm not going to advise you to report it, because if you report it, it gets used against me. I told her that. Anybody calls CPS, all of a sudden it's my fault. So I am not asking you to call. I said, matter of fact, I'm asking you not to call. But I'm realizing I'm talking to a mandated reporter that sees my daughter every day. I can't tell her not to do what she's mandated to do, regardless of what I say. So I said, well, I can't tell you not to call, but I'm not asking you to call. I'm saying that her fear is legitimate. So things to be mindful of. Maybe work with her on her grades so she can fix it, doesn't get in trouble. And I'm thankful that you're there taking care of my daughter every day. That was it. That's not me asking to call anyone. 3 months after our trial, that day, the judge scribbled a memorandum ruling that has basically what a lot of people feel is an unconstitutional gag that says nobody can call CPS. Mom can't cause anyone to call CPS. No one can work in conjunction with the mother to call CPS, as if I don't have audio begging professionals and warning them against calling CPS. Mariah's going to wind up dead while we're all trying to pretend that she's perfectly safe home with the man that you have his criminal record, Sergeant Barfield. And I agree that if there wasn't evidence at that time for whatever investigation you did, that there is now permanent chronic cough or whatever you want to call it, permanent wheezing in her throat, that's where we are a year later. With brain tics that she's being bullied over, that her dad will not take her to a neurologist for, and that he teases her about. That, by the way, when I make a simple request on how did the ENT specialist appointment go? How did the pulmonary and neurologist appointment go? Which I still have a right to find out. Dad responds with, you have to talk in 150 words or less, and provides me no information. Well, one, if you took her, why can't you just share the information of the doctor so I know what's going on? If I have information and I don't have questions and I don't have doubts, then I don't come to assumptions that aren't necessary. Because then I know, okay, you took her to a doctor. They said it was this. They said it was that. But then if you didn't take her to a doctor, why not? Are you perhaps afraid that they might find something that could be inconsistent with your explanations and maybe lead someone to confirm child abuse? I mean, I think that's what most people on the outside looking in might see with the long history of not only who he is, how he is, but all the things that have happened. Legitimately noticeable, reported by multiple mandated professionals in Texas, Oklahoma, the one that called that I asked not to call, she's out of Missouri, that called again, not even knowing the mother, and they continue to call. And somehow, Denton County CPS gets it, and the reports keep disappearing. I can't explain why that's happening, Sergeant Barfield. I can't.
Well, I don't know either. Because again, I don't work in that field. I don't anymore. I don't work with CPS.
Right.
So I can't answer that.
But she has new injury where now it is a brain tic, which is indicative of brain injury. That is the kind of stuff where, again, Collin County is now prosecuting a mother because boyfriend says, oh, kid was in the other room, I heard a thud. And when the kid gets examined at the hospital, they realize, wait a minute, there's a brain bleed here. It's not consistent with boyfriend's reports. And now they have a dead kid. And I'm trying to be the mom that, regardless of the fear of retaliation that I know I am sure to get, doesn't let the fear of what is done to me override the fear of what my daughter's got to be living through, to the point where she cannot control her head movements. Because now he's been empowered in the worst way to do whatever he wants. And her mom certainly isn't going to see it. But now she's supervised by cops, which is fine. I appreciate what police do. I wouldn't want to live in a world without you guys, by the way, quite frankly, because we'd have to deal with a whole lot more than we do. I actually have a lot of respect for honest, lawful, law-abiding law enforcement officers. They maintain a peaceful law and order society. If we didn't have law enforcement, every family violence victim, every family member of every child that's been harmed would have to try to reconcile and deal with perpetrators on their own, and that probably wouldn't end well. So I actually have a lot of appreciation for what you all do, and I hope you believe that. I hope you can hear what I'm saying right now. Maybe I used too many words, I'm sorry. But I am pleading. I believe that you actually have the most power out of anybody right now to protect Moriah. And she needs that. Or I think we're going to wind up with a irreversibly harmed or deceased child. I've parented 7 children over 31 years. I don't just make moms in la la land. She just really believes, and it's not happening. She's making stuff up in her head. That's not happening. Sergeant Barfield. And actually, I almost kind of wish it was. I wish it was a mental health issue on my part. You know why? Are you still there? I wish that it was not real, because then it would mean it's not real and she's not suffering and she's with her dad. She loves her dad. I want her to love her dad. Before I had court orders and he was threatening me with murder, I still made sure that her dad was there the day she was born. I still made sure his mom could be there and anyone else on their side of the family. I still continued to work with the man that constantly terrorized me, because I actually do believe children need both. Now, when family violence, safety risk, and other things come into the equation, I understand now we need to protect kids. But I also have a long history of the same county that is prosecuting me now telling me with my first ex-husband, we gave him supervised. You gave him second chances. I get that you want to honor dad, but if you put kids back in harm's way, the state takes them from you and dad and you get charged. It is not my belief to take children from fathers for no reason. I'm actually the opposite and have been reprimanded for giving multiple chances. I promise I'm not trying to separate Moriah from her father. I don't want a dead daughter. And when she has pervasive throat issues from, yes, the medical neglect and strangulation that I don't know, the x-ray tech felt like existed. I don't know if you ever got those records. I have an audio just the whole visit, because I record everything with my children just to make sure I have it. I might have missed something. They explained a lot of stuff. They put her on steroids and antibiotics and breathing treatment. And you will hear the part where we're just going through the x-ray, and the second one, she says, has there been any injury to your daughter's throat? I did not say that. The x-ray tech asked that. Because yes, Mom, you cleared the infection, but I'm seeing something that looks like injury. Things that Kareed doesn't want to take her to have checked out, or questions he doesn't want to answer. Did I lose you?
No, I just,
I know you're at a loss, and this is a lot. You're probably getting ready to go home and get ready to enjoy some turkey. And now I'm messing things up. I'm sorry. I have to walk in somewhere really, really quickly. If you give me just 1 second, I'm not going anywhere. I don't know if you're processing or just thinking, or I don't know, but I just have to grab something. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. All right, take care. Sergeant Barfield, are you still there, sir? I couldn't hear you. Are you still there? Okay. Should I hang up or?
No, I'm just kind of at a loss.
That's a lot.
Yeah, what you're after. And again, it's not really good place. I'm not in the business right now of investigating offenses. Very frustrating kind of things I do these days. So I'm not really sure what you want.
You're not sure what I want?
Yes. From me.
I mean, I think I'm at a loss. I don't understand.
What is it you're asking me?
I mean, I thought maybe I heard you say that, yeah, you would look at evidence if there was something that was missed or there was something that was new, because I guess police act if...
Well, I guess I did that in the general view that the department will look at, if there is new evidence on them, then we will certainly look at those and we will investigate them. And by we, I guess the department, not me, because that's just not my role. So you would need to, contact dispatch, speak to an officer, follow.
Yeah, but so I guess my concern is I go report all this stuff. It's a holiday weekend. It would be delayed reporting at this point, probably wouldn't have the greatest priority, might get sent to Criminal Investigations Division, and she's out of school next week, which means she's then going to be home for, I don't know, basically as of tonight, a good 10 days. And so if it's not something that they escalate with at least any form of probable cause to keep her safe or to seek some type of protection order in the meantime in between times so they can fully investigate and go through all the evidence that I've just mentioned, then I guess even trying to open something and report something would still leave her in harm's way on a weekend when you can't get anything else done. I mean, law enforcement can, but courts are closed. And quite frankly, I think with the environment that's been created, that all these reports have come in, mom's been behind all of them, none of them have had any credibility. She's making this up. She believes in her head her daughter's in danger. Dad's a saint. No criminal record found. We don't know what she's talking about. This is disruptive to everybody. I mean, if that's what police officers are going to get when they get anything from Marlene Yvette, or even worse, I possibly risk arrest. I mean, that's why I was calling to talk to you. I'm like, God, if this is the conversation that needs to be had, let him be available. And here we are. So what do I want? I want my daughter not to be harmed anymore. I want my daughter to be safe. I want her to not wind up dead or going to sleep one night and not waking up because we realized that she was actually telling the truth, like we've actually got proof of before. And now that she has a brain tick, and now that things are intensifying, we don't wait until all of a sudden, oh my gosh, Moriah's dead? Who's responsible for this? Mom, why didn't you protect her? Well, I tried. Well, the Colony PD and Denton County CPS, what went wrong? Like, I'm just trying to avert all of that. And to the only person I thought that I can call right now, because my name is Mud with your department, I think you could probably at least agree with that. Who do I talk to that does something? I mean, you say that you got evidence from the doctor's office. I mean, I don't know why she still has throat problems a year later. I know she didn't have it from April to August when she was with me. I know she didn't have brain tics and her brain jumping when she was with me. So this is all new stuff. Okay, fine. She goes with her dad. Okay, I don't have any control over that. She keeps coming back with injuries, bandages on her back, welts on her legs. Teachers freaking out, telling me what's happening in their classrooms. And apparently other teachers that reported before. I mean, what do I do with that? Those conversations I had when things were being told to me in real time, where Frisco PD said, well, if the incidents happened in Denton County, you got to talk to the Colony PD. Well, when I have communications with the Colony, I wind up in jail. I mean, but there's jurisdictional dynamics, I guess. Yeah, she's living, and she's living in your city and she's living in your county. So, I mean, like, I think you all would be the department. But I guess what I'm trying to communicate to you, sir, is I have zero interest in going back over what was missed, what was done. Quite frankly, Denton County didn't charge me. Collin County didn't charge me. I've spoken with both DA's offices. I don't believe they're going to, because at least there's enough reasonable evidence to believe that I did what doctors told me to do. I actually got a better positive outcome. And quite frankly, looking at the court order that said, if she doesn't go back, you give notice, it actually shows that I complied with the order. We don't have to litigate that. But I'm saying if I wanted to stay angry and mad and go after the Colony and go after this person and go after that person, I certainly have had enough time to do it. And that's just not my interest. My interest is one thing, and that is my daughter's safety. And now I have a judge that hates me. So there's not going to be any help coming through the custody court. And I'm not asking you to get involved in that. But I believe when brain injury starts occurring and other assaults against children, no, it's not actually a CPS matter. It's a police matter. And their home and the place where all this stuff is happening is in your city. So is there any way we can work together based on the evidence to fix this, Sergeant Murfield? That's what I'm asking you.
So, because the problem for me is you don't have.
And I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, your voice went really, really low where I can't really hear you. Did something change from when we first started talking?
Is that better? I switched to.
Yes, sir. That's a lot better. I was struggling to hear you. I want to hear you.
Right. So again, you kind of put me in a position where it's almost 6 o'clock on a Friday night. Nobody's around for me to verify anything or ask anybody any questions about anything. So kind of put me in a very serious disadvantage here.
Understand.
And I don't know what you want me to do.
So maybe, I mean,
what were you hoping for me to just go over there and take her?
No, no, I know it doesn't. I know it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's to ask that you can look at evidence from a clean slate, or have your officers.
But the evidence that I would look at, the evidence, the people that I would talk to, I would start with teachers. I would call counselors. I would talk to assistant principals. I would talk to SROs. I would do all of those kind of things to say, tell me what's going on with this student that you have. Is there anything that you see that is concerning? I would gather that information to kind of try to corroborate what you're telling me. Do you see her have these tics that mom is telling you about? I would ask all of those kind of questions, but now I can't, and I can't do it for another week because none of those people are going to confirm.
For a week?
Yeah, because school's out all week, right?
So you're saying if I were to be able to, is it normal that, again, if a child is having tics and they are having issues in their throat, again, yeah, a parent should be able to say, yes, I took them to this doctor, this is what they said, and they're evasive and they're not answering the question. So you're saying, like, if anything happens with any kids over the next week, you can't move to arrest anybody, protect a child, request temporary protective orders until schools are back in.
What I'm saying is, how am I supposed to corroborate anything that you told me?
Well, if I give you evidence, then I guess you would be able to do that, because I certainly wouldn't expect to call you and tell you a bunch of stuff that, like I said in the beginning, if I could provide you evidence of this stuff, then, I mean, would it matter? What would we do? Because so are you saying that you got medical records from the whole throat thing and nothing, and they said nothing to see, she just had an infection and we didn't really ask for her to see an ENT specialist? I mean, did they say that, or did maybe, I don't care if CPS messed up. I'm not asking you to disclose the all the stuff of your investigation, but I almost feel like maybe you haven't even seen it. And of course you couldn't be held, nobody can hold you responsible for, not making, being able to make conclusions about stuff you weren't provided because someone else, another agency, assured you they looked at it and there was nothing to see. And so, okay, I work with you all the time, I trust you. But I mean, there's evidence. If I had pictures, if I had audios, if I had stuff that doesn't have to deal with skipping over evidence to get the opinions of school personnel, that quite frankly, when they did report, were told dad has a right to discipline the child, so stop reporting. I mean, if I could provide that, that would need to wait until teachers come back. Is that what you're saying? Because, I mean, if that's the reality, I guess, I mean, I don't know. I prayed about it. I said, God, what do I do? Everybody seems to believe with the kind of stuff that's happening, the responsibility is on the Colony Police Department where she lives.
Right. And if you want to report an offense, then there's a mechanism to do that.
But the problem is, Sergeant Barfield.
And then we will investigate.
Yeah. So, but the issue with that is, don't you guys dually report to CPS?
Of course we do.
Right.
We're mandatory reporters.
And now I've got a gag on me to not report to CPS, or I lose my daughter entirely. And that situation was created by a lot of factors and a lot of dynamics. And again, a lot of people don't even think that's lawful. But it is what it is. So again, it puts me in a position where now her rights to her mother, my rights to my daughter, our parent-child relationship is further harmed, and she perhaps goes into a further dangerous situation because now all this stuff gets reported, and when he finds out it's been reported, is she safe when she goes home with him? It's probably ticked off. Because just like people tell her mother, you talk too much. And then what happens in retaliation? I guess let me be very direct. If I pulled all evidence together and I presented it to your officers that are working this weekend, and it was enough to say, at least better safe than sorry. We have reasonable suspicion, we have probable cause to believe that with multiple pictures, audios, videos, and yes, observations that have already been made by a law enforcement officer, by the way. Again, I've learned I don't report anything unless there's proof. If I were to be able to package that and present that to officers that are working this weekend, would they have the ability to say, you know what, we're going to go ahead and make a decision? To protect a child, I don't know, to make a probable cause arrest, to do something based on the evidence, whatever people would do based on the evidence when there is continued assault with injury, abuse. I mean, whatever police do, I certainly, I can't get into telling you all how to do your job, and I wouldn't do that. But I guess I just need to wait and hope that she makes it through the week, that makes it through the holiday, and hopefully nothing happens. I mean, if that's what this gets down to, then I guess we can hope for that and hope nothing happens.
Well, again, if you believe that she is in danger, then you need to, I can connect you to the people that you can file a report, and they will take the appropriate action. They will do what they believe is appropriate.
So is there any circumstance where I provide information to your department, and because they have enough that say that there's probable, we don't know, probable doesn't mean guaranteed, but yes, based on history that's being presented that you may or may not have seen before, based on continued escalation, a pattern, and now this is what's seen, and by the way, don't have to ask the teachers, a member of law enforcement seen it. If I actually presented that, is there any chance that in the next 24 to 48 hours, when they might have an ability to protect her, that your department would move to do that with evidence? Is there any chance that would happen? Or would I put her in further harm's way of retaliation by even starting the process? That's what I'm asking, Sergeant Barfield.
And I can't speculate on that. What I can tell you is that we'll do an investigation. We will investigate anything that warrants an investigation, anything that is credible, that indicates that a crime has been committed. We'll investigate it when is appropriate.
And that doesn't have to be, sure, right, and that doesn't have to be subject to waiting until school officials in a whole department gets off of Thanksgiving, but if it's presented to officers that are working right now and they have enough of a reason to believe that there might be a reason that we do something, that we might have just a couple of opportunities. We might have a couple of opportunities to protect the child until we figure out more of what's going on. Is that...
Well, so we do not have the power to remove a child.
I understand. So let me ask you a question. Let me ask a better question, because the whole point is I've been ordered that CPS should not be involved. So I don't want to violate that.
They have to be involved. There's nothing that would, we cannot remove a child from a home. we can take a child into protective custody, but when we do that, we turn them over.
Okay.
That's the way the law works.
I understand. But, okay, so if there was enough evidence presented that you said, okay, we're making the decision to take this child into protective custody. Now they're in CPS custody. CPS, you do what you're supposed to do. That would be the only way that you all could do it. That's one avenue. Is that, am I hearing you correctly, that that's how that would have to work?
Yeah.
Okay. So then the second part of that question is, again, I know there's a lot of laws that have changed around interference with child custody. I certainly do not want that run-in with you and another department again. I know that every law enforcement officer is a mandated reporter, and I'm aware of all of those things. If there was evidence presented to your department, like, you know, I guess typically most of the times in your jurisdictions, and again, I'm not asking this to revisit what happened with interference with child custody. I really am not. Again, if I wanted to focus on that, I would have had a year to do it. I don't. I'm trying to have an honest conversation before we all wind up in situations we don't want to be in, right? I know, I don't believe that you want to see her permanently hurt. I don't believe that you want to see any kind of bad situation involving Cree Johnson, Moriah Johnson, or Marlene Yvette. I don't believe that. I don't think you want to see a bad situation with anybody in your jurisdiction, quite frankly. But what I'm asking, I feel like I know the answer, but I want to be honest in just, well, not even honest. I just want to be informed about your department's policy. If I filed a report with your officers, I presented them with all my evidence. If I said, you know what, I have to take a stand and I know I risk the judge in Collin County saying, you know what, put her under the jail. She will never see her daughter until 18. But I presented enough evidence to your law enforcement agency. She is in harm's way, and it's probably not a good idea. Because he's escalating. He's frustrated. I'm following court orders like I always have. I know it's disputed whether I did last October. He's increasingly frustrated because, wait, she's got supervised visits. She has to pay for them. She's giving her 7-day advance notice. And he's literally responding to 7-day advance notice emails with, I haven't received 7 days advance notice, with the email that you're getting notice. Which to me is showing a disturbance that we can't even look at reality. I'm looking for a reason that I'm not going to turn her over. Well, why am I not turning her over? Well, I don't know. Perhaps because I keep hurting her, and this is not going the way I thought it was going to go. And the officers don't think she's evil. And there's nothing to see as they're documenting every 3 to 5 minutes with mother and child. And now they've stated some things that I wish they wouldn't have stated. I mean, he's increasingly upset over this whole supervised visit thing with cops. Again, I know you work with domestic violence victims, and a lot of times, I'm sure over the times that you've been in law enforcement, there have been cases where someone knew they were in imminent danger and it was going to end horribly. And maybe they or others didn't take it seriously, and it did. I don't know if you think I'm crazy or if you think that I'm talking about anything credible.
So, I'll be honest with you. You do have a credibility problem with us and with CPS. Because all of the past allegations have been unfounded. And so that has created a credibility issue on your part.
Hmm? And the thing is they've been unfounded, however,
and like I said, I believe that you believe that they're real. We just have never been able to corroborate.
So I'm just gonna go over one situation with you, and maybe you have some insight on how this happened. Because again, I got to give you the benefit of the doubt that when you contact CPS, you get information from them. You probably have a trusting working relationship. So if they say this, you believe them. And unfortunately, sometimes if a CPS caseworker who got offended or just didn't want to be bothered closes the case and says, yeah, there's nothing to see here, and they tell you that as law enforcement and you work with them and you rely on professional mutual trust, well, then you would give a lot of instant credibility to their report. I'm assuming that that's probably how it goes when, yes, officer, at CPS, we've done our investigation, there's nothing to see here, and you take that as face value, right?
Yes, that's not uncommon.
That's not right. And again, it actually is quite understandable. You all literally have to work hand in hand. If it comes into CPS, I believe you get dual notification of police. If it comes in through police, I believe there's dual notification of CPS. Is that right? Okay. So I'm saying I could completely understand why, if you all continue to get information from CPS, there is nothing to see, mother's crazy, we've looked at it, then you would, upon information and belief from an agency that you work side by side to protect kids every day with, that you would take that as credible. So it may not necessarily be on you. Are you aware that Curry's ex-fiance and second child's mother was a counselor for CPS? Are you aware of that?
Nope.
You didn't know that? Yeah. So I can tell you again, one of the that she works within the CPS system as a counselor. That's how I even got my hands on his certified criminal record, because she sent it to me, because she had the credentials to pull it as a licensed professional counselor supervisor who literally counsels physical and sexual abuse cases for CPS. That's his ex-fiance and the mother of his second child. So could there be some, I mean, I'm assuming if law enforcement and CPS have relationships, I would imagine a counselor that counsels for CPS probably has some relationships too. I will tell you, one of the things that told me, regardless of all the history and the credibility issues, that yes, you've just decided, I'm done with this, I'll show up in court, nobody believes her, is when his attorney asked you, do you believe that she is a danger to her child? And you took a minute and you said no. And I hope that you do truly believe that. And I hope that you know that I would never do anything to put my daughter in harm's way, including trying to convince her of anything that just isn't happening. But if there happened to possibly be some credibility issues on the CPS end that misinformed your department's decisions, are we even willing to consider that?
Consider what?
That the credibility issue maybe wasn't on behalf of the mother, but possibly on behalf of CPS. And again, the only reason would be not to go after CPS, because I don't care about that either. My honest belief is that
that's also been with the time. We've not just relied on CPS when it's investigating the allegations. We have investigated ourselves, and we've been to numerous forensic interviews, and
Are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes. Okay. You said you've been to numerous forensic interviews?
Right. We've been to numerous forensic interviews with her. We've, interviewed teachers and counselors and, school people people at the school and all those kind of things. And we're not just solely relying on CPS. Like I said, we've investigated these matters, these accusations. They've all been unfounded.
You mean that the police department has done forensic interviews with Moriah?
No, we attend forensic interviews at the Children's Advocacy Center with her.
Right.
So are you familiar with Children's Advocacy Center?
I am.
Yes. So we've been to forensic interviews. We are always called to observe the forensic interviews when they happen. Forensic interviews don't happen without law enforcement there. And so we have been to these interviews. We have we have investigated these things and have found no evidence to support the allegations.
But you know that when she's with him, she knows she can't talk.
I mean, he's not there.
I know, but so I'll give you an example. But she's prepped. She's threatened. And I'll tell you how I know she's threatened. And how another officer has heard she's clearly been told. We did our first supervised visit. They give you rules of instructions on both sides, how it's supposed to go. We do not tell the children that they're officers. They're in plain clothes, right? Nobody is, it's a friend. It's, distant uncle or cousin or something, right? So the kids don't feel intimidation if they've ever been told to fear cops or whatever the case may be. And, it's alleged I'm discussing litigation with the child. No, maybe discuss whatever he has said with her to fill in the blanks or cover some things up or dispute some things that she's been told incorrectly. But if a child walks in, she hasn't seen me in months and says, how long do we have to have a supervisor? And me and the supervisor have to look at each other like, how did she know? Because she just showed up. Could that be Dad had a prepping conversation? But you better not say anything. When you go in there, you're being supervised. They're listening to everything that you say. Because otherwise, how would the child know? I read the rules. I'm fully prepared to go with, hey, this is my friend so-and-so. They're going to be hanging out with us today. But if Dad has already discussed custody litigation, which we're not supposed to be doing, or told her, you better not say anything. Moriah, like a lot of children, I know as women in domestic violence, and I know even as children, they learn how to conform. Why? Because when I leave here, I'm going home with the person that if I say something wrong, may beat me in the head, strangle me by lifting me up off the ground by the back of my shirt, might do any number of different things that have been done to me. So I better not talk. I'll be honest, I think it was, you have a detective there, his name is Baker, I can't remember the other part of his name. He worked on the case in 2021 when I brought the medical records to y'all's attention. And he sat on the phone quite some time and explained to me the process where police understand if children are living in the home. And by the way, I never said that her father did it. I said that obviously some things happened while she was with him. His fiance that does child physical and sexual abuse counseling for CPS told me specifically, and it's recorded, she doesn't believe it was him. And again, I don't want to believe it was him. I don't necessarily think it was him. And there were actually some people that started spewing she's being sexually abused by the father, and I corrected that. I don't think he has ever sexually abused her. the fiance, who I guess at some point, she was in the home often. I guess they were together for like 3 years. She's the one that told me Moriah wasn't even with Carrie during the time when that happened. That the grandparents were raising her. And she believes it was the grandparents. Which would be consistent with one day we're walking and Moriah goes to sex ed class there at Etheridge and they're talking about body parts and everything else. And she just says, Mom, feels kind of weird when Papa's penis is on me. And I literally, my throat wants to drop out of the inside of my body. And I'm like, okay, stay calm. What do I say? And you know what I didn't do the first time she said it to me?
No, what?
I didn't call CPS or police. I had a conversation with my daughter and said, well, like, are you sure? Yeah, he wears a t-shirt and no pants. Okay, well, where's Miss Sandra? His adult female partner. She sleeps in the other room. Okay, well, do you have the opportunity to maybe sleep somewhere else by yourself? Well, I could sleep on the couch. But I remember one day I slept on the couch and then I wound up in bed with Papa. And we had a mother-daughter conversation, and guess what? Neither of your phones rang. Because quite frankly, I was heartbroken. Because from my understanding of Moriah, I think she was closest to her grandfather. I have recordings of Carrie's mom telling me that Carrie is a bully, that he has shoved his father. When I had Moriah for 4 months, and I was asking if his mother would be the supervisor, because the way the custody case was going with that judge seeing through Carrie, I knew for sure they were going to order supervision, and I didn't want it to be a facility. I didn't want it to be too expensive, and I was asking his mother, would you be willing to be the supervisor? And she was telling me, Marlene, you got to do what you have to do. Because Carrie's a bully. I have that recording too. Or after I went to jail and she went back home and they all tried to force her to say that I made her say that about her papa. And of course, I always told her, Moriah, if you are possibly in danger, I don't care if you blame me. You stay safe. Because based on the conversation I had with Baker, as police officers, you all understand that that happens. There is beyond audios, conversations, pictures, videos, evidence, not to mention, like we talked about, how does your police department say mom barged into a home that a 4-minute video I have says they never entered? Barged into and putting a protective foot in the door are two totally different things. Mom says that he's got this extensive criminal record. However, the Texas Police Department, no criminal record found. And you said, I don't know how that happened. But again, a lot of people would see that as a credibility issue with the Colony Police Department. Not Mom. I didn't have his criminal record. His fiance that works with CPS gave it to me. And then the Colony records, as the Texas Police Department, say that the records don't exist. When I talked to another chief of police in another police department, he said, I'm confused because it looks like he's quite the criminal. And by the way, when I made those disclosures to the Colony Police Department for a health and safety welfare check, I did not call saying, Carrie is this, and this. I simply answered questions I was being asked. So it's not Mom's calling to make allegations. I have that audio too. I'm answering the questions of dispatch. And it's being framed as mom's making all these allegations against dad. No. If I call the police department and they ask me a question, I'm aware I can't lie to police. Apparently, Kareem.
So hang on, I don't want to litigate all of this whole past stuff. Okay.
I hear you, sir. What I'm saying is,
I don't have the bandwidth for that right now.
I understand. I guess
and it's not material to this.
I guess
if there is a current ongoing threat that you believe, then I will gladly hand you off to dispatch, who will assign an officer who will come and take that complaint from you.
I guess all I'm asking you is, can you see that maybe some of the no credibility issues might easily show that it's actually not a credibility issue? Maybe all the information wasn't available. But like, if I have all this evidence, and now others do, to show this mom's not lying about anything. But they don't believe her if she says anything. Do I even get a chance at credibility with your department?
I don't know.
I mean,
but like I said, there is that credibility issue. But that does not mean that we would just blatantly ignore a credible report. But again, the report has to be. I mean, yes, we are required by law to investigate every report, and we would look at the evidence, and we would make a determination based on it. That's what we do in every case, what we've always done.
So is there anyone there on the weekend that has the ability to look at enough evidence to make a move or a suggestion to protect this child while we can, while we have eyes and contact with the child?
Again, if there is a credible ongoing threat that we act on, we absolutely will. We won't ignore things like that.
Okay. I'm just asking if somehow we can hit the reset button, and you're even open to taking a different position of stuff that, at the end of the day, I don't enjoy having to fight and litigate any of this. I want my daughter to be able to live her childhood safe and free. And if safe and free means she's doing that with her father and with her mother, fabulous. I would love that. Is she safe right now? No, she's not. Does she feel like she can disclose in Denton County, where there's really cozy, comfy relationships that, again, like you said, you didn't know about? Or things perhaps with your CPS, like Chastity called it immediately because she's upset with mom and something that I said? Never called to even try to see the child. I feel like you want to be a conscientious, honest, above board sergeant, especially now charged with leading internal affairs. I certainly don't believe they put officers in that role if you haven't demonstrated your ability and your commitment to do that. You guys have opinions about me based on all the history. And yeah, I've formulated my own opinions, but today when I cried out and I prayed and I said, God, I feel like there's one person I need to have an honest conversation with. And if that's supposed to happen, he'll be available. But it's 3 till 5 on a Friday before Thanksgiving, and you answered the phone. This would be a tsunami of stuff to try to regain and get back to zero with my credibility. And I don't know if we have very limited windows in the next 48 hours to perhaps protect her. If going through all that history to fix my credibility is where I start, or if I start with what's happening now, and the fact that, again...
Well, I think you should start with what's happening now.
Okay.
If you believe that she is a danger, then please file a report with our department.
Okay.
And our officers will investigate. That's what we do.
And so can I ask you a question? Because it's a lot. It may be a lot. If I'm already flagged in the system of not credible, we've had problems with this mom. We've had to arrest her before. Your officers, without your assistance, may have a struggle even seeing new evidence and deciding in a 24 to 48 hour small window that we have that we're going to do anything to try to move to protect this child. I could see that being a concern.
Again, as I said, you will evaluate every claim based on the evidence that we have, and we will take the appropriate investigative and enforcement actions.
And you would be mindful of the fact of what I just told you, which is if he's notified of the report before you give an opportunity to, Marlena, do you have more? She could be gone, Sergeant Barfield, and I don't want to believe that. But I have to live in the world of reality. And so I hope they would use sensitivity in their investigation to not immediately, hey, Dad, can we talk to you?
Again, let me put it to you this way. I am not going, me personally, am not involved in this.
Okay.
Okay. This does not fall under my purview in this. Okay.
Okay.
And so this is the way the process works is you would contact dispatch, they would assign an officer would take your statement, take any evidence that you had, and they would begin an investigation and determine what was appropriate to be done.
So my name is mud in your police system right now. So when dispatch gets...
No, there is no system that has your name on it that says, do not believe anything she tells you. Okay, there's no flags in our system that do anything like that. They will evaluate any claims that you make based on the evidence that they're presented, and they will deal with it appropriately.
Okay, so from a police investigative, perspective, because when you're talking about brain injury, right, first of all, you would have to have a baseline of, has this child always had uncontrollable tics, right? So that's kind of going back. They didn't used to have it. They didn't have it prior to this time, and now they have it now. You have to do that. Okay, well, how does someone go from, I'm asking from a law enforcement standpoint how they hear this and how much I have to share for them to understand why I believe that that's what's going on. For any random person, because all of a sudden a child has a tic, to assume that it has happened because there has been some form of brain injury or abuse and something perhaps we can't see, I think most people would say, do we have a history of anything that would lead you to believe a child has been long-term abused to where now it is visible tics? If I were a law enforcement officer, and I'm not trying to place myself in an equal position to, again, who you all are and what you do, I wouldn't do that. I would think they need the background history. And I guess what I'm saying, where I see the challenge, I want to be brief. I want to just give you what's happening right now. I want to give you the highlight reel. But I'm looking at it from the perspective of an officer. If I hear all this history of all the stuff that's happened, I say, well, when all this other stuff was happening, did you report it? Yes. Who did you report it to? Your department? CPS? Well, what did they do? They unfounded it? Then what happens to that officer's view of what's going on right now? Because otherwise you say the child is a tick. Well, without the abuse history, we'll take the child to the doctor. Well, I would love for that to happen. I asked for that to happen, and Dad's saying you can only use 150 words and won't answer the question. So I guess if you can give me some guidelines and tell me, Marlena, I know how you communicate, I know how you talk, I know how you email, I know how long this history is, and my head hurts. What would you tell me is the best way to present to whoever's going to get this that gives them what they need to know and saves all the other stuff that they don't need to know? I will follow your instruction to a T. I will.
I don't know how to instruct you on that. I totally have the advice.
But you understand what I'm concerned about is the dilemma.
I absolutely am, and I understand that the situation that we're in, based on the history. I certainly understand, and I don't know how to get around it.
Is there any way to ask that, well, if anything I report is going to go straight to CPS?
They will have to make a decision. They are required to do. They are required by law.
Can they continue their police investigation without relying on waiting for CPS? Can you all do it independently, or do you have to?
Of course, like I said, we do our own investigation. Don't always just rely on what CPS does. We share information between both agencies, along with all of the other with all the other disciplines with the children's advocate. All share information.
Yeah. Do you believe that there's a possibility that there may have been some things missed in the past and that I might actually be credible in telling the truth? And you can tell me, no, I think you believe that she's in danger. I don't think it's any different than what we've done. Because if after this conversation, if you still think I'm just needing or wanting somehow to believe that my daughter's being abused, I probably don't have much shot. Reaching out to your department and probably should save myself the risk, because it is a risk. There is now an order that says if CPS is contacted by me or I cause CPS to be contacted and they say unfounded, Moriah goes away. So now we're both punished. Her for showing signs of brain injury or telling me anything of what happened, and me for believing that the police and CPS process will, even if it hasn't worked as great as it perhaps should have in the past, that would ever work in the future. And I just put myself and my child in greater harm's way because now it's been reported and Dad's going to find out. And if the reality is you still don't necessarily feel like there's anything different that may have been missed or any different impression, I mean, I can skip it. I won't be offended. I appreciate you even taking the time to talk with me. I'll wish you and your family a happy Thanksgiving. And I mean, I'll talk to God and say at least I tried. I mean, but
So I mean, I think it's fairly evident that I do have concerns about your credibility. And that was, they say that, a broken clock is right twice a day. So just because you haven't been credible in the past doesn't mean what you're saying now is not credible. It all depends on that you claim that you have evidence of this. That's that there would be that if there is evidence that shows that there is abuse, then we'll certainly examine it.
if a parent presents evidence to other third parties, may or may not be in law enforcement, and they don't think that she's a perpetual liar, and they say, you know what, if it was our kid, you have a mandate to protect your child or to ask for your child to be protected. Does your department move to try to put me in jail again if he goes to you and says something was said and she's not coming home?
Well, again, I have no idea what the current custody agreements and things are. I would strongly discourage you from violating any custody orders that are currently.
Right, I'm not. I mean, he's currently in violation, but when he was in violation on March 31st, after a judge ordered him to turn her over 5 days later, he didn't. And one of your officers said it was civil when it was him, and then when it was me, I was arrested. So I don't really know how that played out. I don't know if you even knew about that.
I'm not.
Yeah, I could send that to you. Yeah, it was ordered by a judge to turn her over Easter Sunday. And we went peacefully to the house. And one of your officers read the court order and thought it was valid, and the other one said, he's saying she needed to request it in the app, which was not in the order. And I was told the Colony Police Department doesn't get involved in custody cases, it's civil. And they sent me away.
That's not true. But to have you have a lot of young officers who hear things like that from other officers. They're just repeating that information. So we run into two types of officers. They will have heard that from another officer who perhaps might be lazy. and doesn't want to. Because there was a time when that was true. They would just chalk it up to that and didn't say anything. The DA's office doesn't do anything with those, so we're not going to involve them. And none of those things are actually true, but that sort of folklore can get spread around, and then you have to find out about who's correct. No, that's not true. We investigate every violation of the law. Take the appropriate action. Counsel and train, coach, teach, and train people.
Right. I turned off my car. You're hearing beeps in the background. So sitting in a parking lot, and like I'm probably running all my gas out. I don't know where to start. Sergeant Barfield, I just know where I don't want this to end. And he's incredibly frustrated that even though he has soul, and I did 2 to 4 hours every other weekend. That I'm still hanging on. And then now things are observed that he'd rather not be observed, that he'd rather not be talked about, and that he'd rather not have to answer questions on. Like what happened at the neurologist, what happened with the pulmonary specialist, what happened with the ENT specialist. And I think most people would think that if there was no problem, especially if he was court ordered to provide that information, that a parent that doesn't have anything to hide would just provide it.
Well, again, I don't know that he's required to. And so that's...
Well, I'm saying court order.
That's prerogative.
Court order-wise, he actually is ordered to provide it. He's ordered to provide it within 48 hours. And I've actually given a lot longer than that. And to just completely dismiss the questions altogether, which, yes, is a violation of court orders, and cite a number that's not in any court order the same way he cited in our Family Wizard app when he denied a judge's ruling 5 days later. I mean, I think the other...
Again, those definitely are civil matters.
I understand, but what those are... Yeah. And I guess what I'm saying is the context of even bringing it up is what situation do we create if I start to report new stuff, nobody senses imminency or urgency, and they're dealing with a man that, again, you can look up in your police systems, has a 30-year history of not caring what judges, law enforcement officers, or anyone says, who apparently has evaded arrest, has failed to identify as a fugitive from justice. When I was wanted, I still identified myself properly to multiple states' law enforcement. Because you can't lie to law enforcement. Like, that's a crime. You can't lie to law enforcement. You can't tell them you're somebody else, Alan Lamont Smith, if your name is Kareel Bafemi Johnson. Just the same way I couldn't tell him I was Sally Sue when I've always been Marlena Yvette Christopher. Right? And so I think the problem is if we have an honest conversation, we're saying Marlena has the credibility issue, yet she has zero criminal record at 46. And she certainly doesn't have evading arrest of law enforcement officers and failure to identify as a fugitive, giving law enforcement a fake name. So I guess the concern is if we don't move to protect her when she's somewhere safe away from him, do we feel like the Colony Police Department thinks they can roll up to his house and say, you need to turn her over now? And that he is going to give 2 flying flips what cops have to say when his 30-year criminal record shows he really does not. Again, I understand, and I've talked to both DA's offices about this. He gave somebody a sweetheart deal with his drug dealing, and now he's become the golden boy. And I'll continue to tell you, any other law enforcement officer, like I told both DA's offices, I don't need to know or want to know who he snitched on and how he went from bad to good. Does it concern me that my daughter is connected to him? Yes. But I would also have to assume that the state of Texas believes that whoever he snitched on is either in jail, dead, and not going to pose any threat, or they probably wouldn't want the liability of Moriah being in the middle of it. And those are the things I just have to trust God about. But what I'm saying is that
I don't know anything about that. I don't know if that's true or not. I know that he has absolutely no connection to anybody in our department. Any other reports that he filed.
He does have your department, just so you know. Your department released it was through a request. I guess it was dash cam of the officer that, like you said, he didn't seem to be a young guy, but whatever the case, they released. I was saying he didn't seem to be a young guy, but either way, as far as the whole interference, like he wasn't bringing her, like, oh, she's supposed to have a nap. Oh, I'm at work. They released a video with him in his in his cruiser, talking to Cree over the phone. And this was when we were there with the court order trying to pick her up as ordered, because we had just had a full day trial 5 days prior. And that officer was talking with Curry about how, basically blah, 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 woman issues. And then they started talking about how he has pulled him over multiple times and let him go. And then he said to him, when he's done, he may go visit him at work. Your department released that to me.
And what officer?
I'll have to go back and check his name, but that would have been, if you look at March 31st of 2024, which would have been Easter Sunday of last year. I was surprised I got it. Because what I was looking for was just a situation where we just had a full day trial. Witnesses put on testimony. Curry testified. I testified. And the Collin County judge said, you start turning her over for 4 hours on the 31st. And this officer seemed to have a really cozy relationship with him. He even walked up to the door like, Curry, are you there? All of that is on body cam. And then Curry says, oh, I'm at work. She was supposed to request it in an app. And you actually did have a good officer that was reading the paperwork that I presented. And I even offered to give him the electronic copy from the court. And she kept trying to show the male officer, it does say right here the child's supposed to be with mom. And the officer basically started it.
That would have been Miles.
There you go. Yes, that's correct. Yes. Outen.
Miles no longer works here.
Okay.
And he was one of those guys that I would tell you about. How junior off, Miles plays, and he we tell people basically how to.
Yeah.
It has for senior off. And that was I was on. He said about me. I didn't think that was very small.
Right.
That would explain why.
And that's where I'm thinking, again, some things got influenced in how I'm viewed, because I had a fresh order. There was another female officer that was there that day. I don't remember. Yes, that's right. Absolutely. Yeah, McCracken. And she was looking at the court order and she's like, no, this is what it says right here. And I mean, he overrode the officer, and Curry's talking about she's supposed to request it in the app, and I'm at work. And they let Moriah come and wave at the door, and sorry, Mom, nothing we can do. I'm just trying to learn about the app. And again, I'm saying this is interference with child custody. Well, it's not our problem. Go back to Denison PD where he was supposed to turn her over. But the child is here.
Again, I really don't want to get into all of that.
Right.
Okay. We've been going around for almost 2 hours.
Right.
And I kind of told you what the next steps are if you need to do something. And so that is what I would suggest you do. You actually feel that she is, and that's how you go about go file a report. They will investigate.
And you do feel like it's possible that could happen within 24 to 48 hours if I give them this evidence, and if they're able to, without notifying him that there's a way that they could.
How are they going to investigate this without notifying, without talking?
Well, I'm just saying that I know at some point they would have to talk to him, but I'm saying, are there situations where, again, you have vulnerable children that are in custody of the person that has harmed them, and you at least get enough evidence, or maybe even talk to the child, that are able to say, okay, CPS, we need you to step in because we do believe that there's at least enough probable cause to not send this kid home tonight, where they can possibly be threatened, intimidated, or severely harmed further for talking. I'm just saying, is there a method within the Colony PD that functions that way? Or is it we have to talk to the parent before we move to get CPS to remove a child that's in,
Well, if they believe that a child is in the appropriate sense,
okay. And you have officers that are working this weekend that could make those kinds of decisions.
Yes, overall.
I'm not asking you to give me credibility with all the history. I would also even have to admit, or I would have to assume, I don't want to assume, if I provided you evidence on all the situations where it seemed like Mom was wrong, I don't even know that you'd want to go through it. But my daughter lives in your city, so, she's 11, means she's got another 7 years there. I really don't necessarily want to be starting with the framework of I've got to defend my credibility, but if that is going to be important to be able to hear the voice of my child or hear me, I'm willing to do it. But if you think that just knowing what has gone on or having an opportunity to talk to the child, they could still move. It's within their policy and their authority where they could move to protect her and not send her back where she's threatened, intimidated, or...
Yes, if they believe that any child is in danger.
Okay.
I'm not sure how many ways I can say that.
I just haven't seen it work yet, Sergeant Barfield.
Well, so again, there is good to go credible information provided to us. Tell us that she is in
danger. I think what I'm saying is I'm not trying to be difficult. I feel like I don't know, evidence is a word for courts and police, so I won't use evidence as if I'm a professional. I'll dumb it down to things like proof, right? Like audio conversations. Do what?
Proof is also a great word.
Yeah. So as a layperson, I know that I have a lot of proof that instantly, tradespeople, law enforcement, advocates, they could see it one way and say, wow, this is clear. If you actually have that, you can show that. We've seen that. We now hold that. Why is this so difficult? I guess what I'm saying is this is just my plea that I hope somehow, some way, I won't say if I can provide about anything that I can't provide. If I've said in this conversation I can provide it, it means it exists. And at this point, other people have it. Because I believe, real fear that I start talking and something happens to me, I think a lot of people also feel is legitimate. They can see that. So at the same time, I want to do what's best for my daughter first above all and everybody else. And so that means, like, I do my best in court. I do my best with the powers that be. I do my best to talk to law enforcement one last time. If I thought talking to CPS would present any, even remotely, positive details, perhaps I'd be having this conversation with them. I did feel like, you know what? And God told me, call Barfield, have a conversation. So I do appreciate you taking the time, because I know you didn't have to. And whether we agree on what's credible or not, what has or hasn't happened, I'm not even looking for that at this point. I'm just trying to reach out and say I'm not trying to attack anybody, including you or the Colony PD. I just want my daughter safe. And I don't want to live under fear anymore of retaliation that keeps me silent, because if as an adult I'm so intimidated that I can't speak, I have to remember what my daughter's going through as an 11-year-old child who has no power. It's 10 times worse. And I've reached a resolve about this weekend and what I know has to be done, whether it's done through me or whether I say, you know what, I can't do this on my own. I need help. And so I thought, you know what, Marlena, give them one more phone call. See if there's a possibility we can just focus on proof, facts, law, evidence, and the best interest of protecting a child that perhaps, unfortunately, has been harmed in our jurisdiction. And so I'm willing to try. Can you just have, just because I've been sitting in a parking lot and I missed a couple calls, are you able to just have a dispatch officer? I know you said you can connect me to someone. I think they can email me like the form that I need to fill out. Is that right? Sorry, not the form, but it's like a witness statement or something.
Oh, like a witness affidavit?
Yeah. Can you just have them contact me? I think Carla Diaz before. Just, hey, this is so-and-so with, officer so-and-so. Understand that you have something you need to report, and they've sent me a witness affidavit before, so that way I can fill that out. I don't want to ramble on and on and have a 2-hour conversation with anybody. They don't want to hear it, and I don't want to have it. But just so I'm clear on what is happening, I guess you can connect and get that going, because, yes, sir, I would appreciate that.
Okay, I will try to transfer you over to dispatch, and they will connect you with the officer.
You said I would have to talk to dispatch?
Yes.
And give them a...
Yeah, because they have to generate a case number, call for service, and all this
So what do I say to them?
Just tell them you need to file a report. You believe your daughter is in danger or being abused by her father, or however you want to frame it, and they'd like to speak to them.
So if I do that right now and I'm not really in a position to have another hour or 2 hours conversation with an officer right this moment, I could just call dispatch.
Just call back to the non-emergency number.
Okay.
And just tell the dispatcher.
But they could still just send me, like if I requested that, yes, I do have a concern for my daughter's safety. Can you send me the form so I can complete it and then call back at a time when I have more ability to speak and answer questions? Like, that's not an unreasonable request. They can do that, right?
I believe so.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sure. Okay. Okay. You just want to call back and talk to them?
I mean, you can transfer me if you'd like. That's fine. I appreciate it. And I hope that you do have a good week. I'm assuming you're going to be out for the weekend. Will they be able to contact you at all to reference any cases that you've worked on if they need to, or? Yeah. Okay. So you don't want all the other stuff. If there was any kind of proof about her head tick, what would you need for them?
I don't know. But again, how do you she had a CT scan.
So again, that's where I have the challenge is that, yes, court orders say he's supposed to give you that information, but he's refusing to. So do we make it a family court issue, or do
if he's in violation?
Right, and I get that, but as a matter of child safety, that imminently we need to determine if there is something going on in her brain. Do we just tell the mom you got to wait till you can get a court date to tell the judge that he needs to tell you if she's had a CT scan or anything? In which case, it wouldn't even be worth it to go through this. That, I guess, that's the kind of stuff that I'm already kind of pursuing.
Right. Again, like I said, you usually call them, Friday afternoon. Contact early. Day, call the teachers and some counselors. Have you observed anything? She said she didn't get any kind of outcry.
So it sounds like this is really going to have to be tabled until everybody gets back. Are you there?
Yeah.
Is that probably where we are?
We will do what we can.
Okay. Well.
But again, I'm not sure if you notice that articulate that something we can, that something actually has been put out. I don't know.
I feel like I, as a parent, am completely incapable with the resources, the time, or again, the credibility to speak for my daughter. I guess I do want to tell you one thing. I do appreciate your honesty in, giving me a real picture of What are the types of things that you all would need to do? Could this be a fast process? I'm feeling like it probably won't be. And as the thing that I have, like, I'm dreading more than anything, I had a DA tell me you need to get an advocacy agency involved to advocate for your daughter. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. That is the last thing I want to do. Right? Judges don't like that. Especially if they have to ask the public for help. Like, nobody likes that. And I'm like, that is the last thing I want to do. However, again, when I consult with police, do you think we can resolve it? Consult with the DA. This is what I can tell you because you're in our system too. And honestly, we can't talk to you. We can't do much because your name is Mud. So you need someone else to speak for you and your daughter at this point because we have all painted you as a completely alienating, non-credible, lying, vindictive criminal. So you're going to have to get other people from the public to speak on you and your daughter's behalf. And I hate that because I hate that for all the professionals that are going to find out this mom actually hasn't lied about anything. And I just don't like the path of where that has to go when they feel like police aren't listening, DAs aren't listening, judges aren't listening. I can't even tell you how much I'm dreading where I feel like if the police can't hear me and move fast enough, I have no option because I'm not going to be the mother that just got charged or have my daughter be the kid just taken off life support. Things get stressful around their home when she's out of school immediately as a pattern, and she's about to be home for 10 days. The neurology appointment that I got notified of happened within a week of school getting out last year. And then when I asked about it in July, right before the final trial, I was told the neurology appointment was for a cough. And based on police and CPS standards, that would be a report that is inconsistent with what we're seeing from the child. Neurologists don't treat coughs. And then when I see my child again, her head is ticking. Most people would say it's more reasonable than not that him saying a neurologist appointment being scheduled and canceled, by the way, that I confirmed was canceled with that neurologist, and him still not wanting to talk about it months later with her head ticking, most would say it is more likely than not that this child has had brain impact. And if the point is the police department can't get there, I don't want to waste anyone's time or wind up retaliated against in family court because I talked to the police who called CPS, who said mom's not credible and crazy again, and now I've lost my child. So I will say I'm at least really appreciative for your honesty that it sounds like because it's the wrong timing, it probably can't work. And that breaks my heart because I think privately with, just letting good officers do what good officers do. Is probably the best thing. But I think in your honesty, I think the DA was giving the greatest honesty too, as I looked you up in our system, and you don't have any credibility. You need other people to speak on your behalf. And I don't like it. But if that's where we are, I can't do anything about that. I have to trust God. guess just let all truth be revealed so justice can be served. I mean, I don't know what else to say. But I do appreciate you being willing to take the time to talk, Sergeant Barfield. I really do.
Okay. All right. Well, take care.
All right. I hope that you have a great weekend.
Okay. You too.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Decide.